It is once again Nintendo Direct time, and of course, the leaks were true. There's a Nintendo Direct happening tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, and it will be roughly 40 minutes on new information, focusing on stuff coming this winter, and probably also touching on some titles for next year, like they always do. Now, there's a lot of stuff to get excited about, and of course, we have lots of leaks, lots of predictions for you guys, but I'm going to give you kind of the rundown as to what we can expect from this Nintendo Direct. What type of Direct is this going to be? Is this going to be one packed and full of super exciting reveals, or is this going to be something more on the lighter side, just giving us more information on things we already know? I'm going with the latter. I think this is going to be a really good Direct because they have a lot to talk about. Normally when Nintendo has a lot to talk about, it's normally a pretty good show, where it's not going to be too many crazy reveals. I can see this show definitely just touching on the stuff that we already know and giving us more information on those titles, and just with a few announcements. And I feel like most of those new announcements are going to be ports or remakes of old games like GameCube titles. But I kind of segmented this video in many different things to help prepare you guys for tomorrow's Direct. We have things that we know, new things, the PRO leaks, which are pretty much 100% trusted leaks right now, and of course, my show lineup, how I think it's actually all going to play out with the 40-minute show. Real quick, before we get started, we just hit 250,000 subscribers. I want to take the second to say thank you guys so much, and we are just going to continue to press on. There's some exciting things coming to the channel, and if you want to watch those things, stop what you're doing, leave a like, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Nintendo, as a lot of you right now are not yet subscribed. If you enjoyed this video, please just subscribe to help us reach maybe 20% of you guys subscribed. Let's just make that a current goal for now. We're at 15%, let's try to hit 20, but let's jump into the video. Okay, first let's go over the things that we do know. Right now, we know that Mario Wonder is coming out October 20th, so it's probably going to get a very short trailer, around 1 to 2 minutes for sure. We just got a whole 15-minute Direct on this thing, and we've already gotten that reveal trailer, so there's probably not a lot here. I don't think they need to show much else. Now, normally when Nintendo shows one last trailer when it's in a Nintendo Direct, it's normally a big one showcasing some crazy stuff right before the game launches. And this is the perfect time to maybe give us a wild, wacky trailer with things that are just out of this world insane that they saved just for this Direct. I expect it to be very short, and maybe finally it shows us the boss battles in this game now. I think that's the one last thing that a lot of people are holding out for, so we might be able to see who we're fighting outside of Bowser Jr., which will be very exciting. Next up, we have WarioWare Move It coming November 3rd. It's probably also going to have some smaller info, not a huge portion. It's probably just going to show off the multiplayer, maybe even the campaign this time around, what it's going to be like, showing more of the mini games and more things that you can actually do in the game, maybe some of the side games and stuff. It's very much like WarioWare Smooth Moves, so it's probably going to show off a lot of elements from that game as well. Nothing huge, but maybe giving us some new exciting information on maybe online co-op or something. WarioWare online co-op would be a lot of fun, as WarioWare Get It Together really just had online challenges every week. Next up, we have Mario RPG coming November 17th. I think this one's going to have a decent chunk of information to talk about, just because it's an older game and a lot of people haven't played Mario RPG, so you know Nintendo, they're going to be like, well, this is where you start the game, and this is how you play the game, and this is what your adventure is going to be like. You'll find some wacky faces, you know Nintendo, going through the whole spiel of this game. I know it's a game that originally came out on the SNES, so how much time could they actually spend on this? I don't know. It's Nintendo we're talking about. I do think it's going to get more than we think, though. Just be on the lookout for that. Next up, the big one, Splatoon 3 DLC. There has to be a side order trailer here, and I would assume it's happening soon, like maybe even a shadow drop soon. I would say probably a September release date at least. I hope it doesn't say like, oh, this is going to go into the next year, which would be scary. That's a long time to wait for this thing. But yeah, it's been a year now, or very close to, I think, since the game came out. So I can imagine this trailer actually being kind of deep, like 2, 3, maybe even 4 minutes, showing off what we're doing here. I am hoping that it's something ambitious, something very, very big that we did not expect. You know, something that's even bigger and even crazier than what we've gotten within the Splatoon 2's Octo expansion. So I'm hoping maybe it kind of teases what the next Splatoon's campaign could look like. Maybe something more open-ended with challenges and missions and stuff in a more open environment. That would be really cool. But we're going to see. It's probably not going to be that, though. I would expect something more along the lines of the traditional campaign missions, which is like the obstacle courses that we've been getting. But hopefully we get some glimpses of maybe some new boss battles and some more interesting stuff there. I'm very excited, not sure what we're going to see with that, but they have to show it off. Something else we still know of is maybe the Mario Kart Wave 6. It'll be a small glimpse if we do see it, something incredibly small like one track and one character. Once again, I'm saying like Pauline and probably Piranha Plant Pipeline since it's the newest track technically. But yeah, those are the only things I think they're going to reveal. If they do reveal another character, probably Diddy Kong or Funky Kong. Probably Diddy Kong because it just makes sense. You know, how is Diddy Kong not in this game? So I'm saying Diddy and Pauline. We have Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon to talk about for next year, which is probably going to be incredibly small as it's just an up-resed port. So it might be very early next year. I'm talking January, and it's probably going to have a very small trailer, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, just kind of retouching on what the game is again for people that missed it on the 3DS. We have the Princess Peach game, which is probably going to be a highlight of the show. I'm thinking it's going to actually start the show and be one of the bigger games of next year to start the year. And I think they're going to go into a pretty decent chunk of this thing, maybe like 3 to 4 minutes. And I think we do know the name now thanks to Piero, and we'll get into that later. But yes, we're probably going to get a big chunk of Princess Peach here. And finally, there's definitely going to be something Pokemon related, I would assume. The Pokemon DLC Wave 1 just released recently, I think last night. So we'll probably see Wave 2 maybe talked about a little bit during this thing. Maybe, or they'll at least touch on maybe Detective Pikachu, the new one coming out. So those are some things that also were announced and that could be touched on a little bit. Or Pokemon might wait and do their own thing again later this year. I doubt it, but we'll see. Now, as you can see, that's a lot of things that we already know that they're guaranteed to give us more information on. That's going to be just about half the show, maybe even a little bit over half. So yeah, that's why I said this Direct is going to be mainly focused on things that we already know, not to get your hopes extremely high for new titles. Next up, I want to go to the leaks, actually, and I want to do the Piero leaks as they are very, very reliable as of right now. And we have some new information from Piero that gave us some things to look forward to, whether we're super excited about them or not. So first off, we know that there's going to be a DS and Wii game remake, and apparently they're going to be the Code/Trace memory games, which were old cult classics on the DS and the Wii. I've never heard of them. I don't think this is going to make a big rumble in the Direct, but you know, there you have that if you're excited. Apparently there's going to be a new Mario vs. Donkey Kong game, which if you like it or not, you know, it's happening. I know a lot of us Donkey Kong fans finally wanted a new Donkey Kong game. This is as close as we're getting on the Switch, it looks like. Then it looks like we're going to get something F-Zero related, whether it's going to be a GX remake from the GameCube, or it's going to be what looks like leaning towards the 99 side of things, like Tetris 99, and then the Pac-Man game that is eventually going off of the eShop very soon. And they did like tweets based on that, so maybe it's going to be like some F-Zero 99 thing where you raced against each other. It's one of the last big things for the Switch Online before moving on to the next console next year. That might be the case, which is still relatively small. And then we know the name of the Princess Peach game, which apparently is going to be called Princess Peach Showtime or something, you know, in those lines. As far as anything else, there were some rumors, I believe, from Jeff Grubb. Do not quote me on that, but there was some leaks and rumors from someone that was talking about the fact that there was going to be something else Zelda related that was announced this year, but it wasn't going to be related to Tears of the Kingdom. And as we can see, yeah, it wasn't Tears of the Kingdom because they just pretty much announced there's not going to be DLC for that game. So does that mean it's finally time for Wind Waker Twilight Princess ports? Are they going to announce a new like top-down 2D Zelda style game? Is it going to be a remake or port of another game like Link Between Worlds? Or maybe it's a remake of Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages? Or maybe it's just like a spin-off Zelda game? Who knows? But maybe something Zelda here? We very well might be getting Mario vs. Donkey Kong, but there were rumors originally that there was still being some big 2D or 3D Donkey Kong game being worked on by Nintendo, and we haven't heard or seen anything about it in the last couple of Directs, so maybe there's still a chance we could get another big Donkey Kong game announced at the end of the show. We also had the big rumor that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 was coming, which honestly just makes a lot of sense, with Metroid Prime 1 already getting its remaster and 2 and 3 probably coming very soon because Metroid Prime 4 is probably coming closer than we think, maybe even summer of next year. So I think it's time we got Metroid Prime 2 and 3 in a pack together, and very similar to the way they did with Pikmin 1 and 2, just kind of up-res, not really the remastered treatment, the rebuild they did for Metroid Prime 1, but Who knows? Then the last rumor we had at the beginning of this year seemed like we were definitely due to get a Mario sports title. It sounded like we were going to get Mario Sluggers again, or a new style of Mario baseball, something in the Mario sports world, and we got nothing. This seems like the perfect time to reveal a Mario sports title for next year, as next year is probably going to be filled with some smaller titles until we get to the holiday season with that new console and hopefully that big 3D Mario game. But the question is, what smaller titles are we getting? It could be something Mario Party related, or maybe even Mario Sports. Maybe it's finally time for that rumored Mario Baseball. I am praying that would be really good. Now, whether these are leaks or not, there's still some small room, I guess, for some new titles. I mean, if you think about it, the Switch is done. They've covered everything with all these different IPs. If there are new titles, I feel like they've kind of got to be titles that we haven't even heard of on the Switch, like something Star Fox related or Punch-Out, you know, something along those lines, F-Zero. But what else could it be? Mario has pretty much done everything it needs to do, and we're gearing up for a big 3D Mario, looks like, at the start of the next console, and we're ending this console, looks like, with a 2D Mario. So what's left? You know, you have your Fire Emblems, your Xenoblades, your Zeldas. What could be remaining? Well, you don't have a lot, believe it or not. You're not going to get another Mario Kart or Smash Brothers or anything like that. You know, we're at the end of the Switch. So if we get anything else new, I don't think it's going to be anything that grand. I think the biggest announcement or biggest things that we could get here is really stuck between two things. It's got to be something Donkey Kong related, whether it's a 2D or 3D game, or it's got to be Metroid Prime 4. I think that's the only way they can go, and honestly, Metroid Prime 4 just sounds like the most realistic thing right now. It's one of the last things that we actually technically know about, even though it will be a new thing when we see it since it got revamped and we really haven't heard about it since it's reworking. So Metroid Prime 4 sounds very likely, especially with the timing of everything, and if it truly is the last thing to come out on the Switch for summer of next year, it would probably have to be here. As far as next console stuff, I don't think you get anything here. Now, what if Metroid Prime 4 is in fact going to be saved for the next console, which just makes the most sense to me. With the recent reports coming out saying that this new Switch is going to be as powerful, if not more powerful than the PS5, and it's going to be a handheld console again, then like, why in the world is Metroid Prime 4 not being one of the big first titles for that brand new console? Which still makes me want to lean towards the fact that we might not see Metroid here. But if we do, what if we see Metroid, right? But it's coming out for the next console and they just say holiday of 2024. They don't tell us about the new console or anything. We just see this game that looks freaking amazing, like extremely good graphics. It doesn't say what console it's coming to. It just says Metroid Prime 4 holiday 2024. Well, if they can do that, what's stopping them from showing the next Mario game? I know it's a reach, but what if they just show us this crazy new Mario game and just say holiday 2024? Would they do that? Absolutely not, because it probably would interfere with the fact that they have a big 2D Mario game coming out in just a month with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So they probably wouldn't want to cross paths with each other like that. They'd probably want to wait this year out to announce that big 3D Mario game, and they'll probably announce it at the beginning of next year if I was a betting man. So with all that information, let's put together a Nintendo Direct show. So I'm going to give you guys my lineup and my predictions as to what I think is going to happen specifically, and let's just see if this happens. So the show is probably going to start with Princess Peach Showtime. It's going to show off the game, show off some really cool things about it, give us a release date for early next year, and it's going to be a big show starter. Normally Nintendo starts shows with things that we know about, but not a lot of information about, like they did with Pikmin, or at least Pikmin 4 in that case. But next we'll move into some headlines for Luigi's Mansion 2, Dark Moon, Mario Wonder, WarioWare, maybe Code/Trace Memory remakes, some spin-off titles, maybe like Mario Sports, Mario Party, and some other third-party and small indie games as well. Then we'll get to the middle of the show announcement, which I think is going to be the Splatoon 3 Side Order DLC. They're probably going to spend a big chunk of the middle of the show showing off this DLC and maybe even shadow dropping it, saying after the Direct or tonight or maybe sometime in September, maybe next week or something along those lines. Next up, we move into headlines number 2, which gives us Mario RPG, Mario Kart Wave 6 glimpse, other ports and remakes from GameCube and other past games, and then Mario vs. Donkey Kong game. And then normally at the end of the show, they have like 2 announcements. One that's kind of big or just kind of interesting for people, which is where they're probably going to reveal the Switch Online F-Zero 99 thing and just more Switch Online updates. And then they'll say this is the last and final announcement for the show, and it will be Metroid Prime 4, a small teaser trailer. Maybe just showing Samus, her ship, and maybe some story elements or something along those lines, and just showing us how good the game looks. Will it even be in-game gameplay? Probably not. Probably just some cutscenes and stuff, but I don't think people care right now. This is the first time I think people just want to see something of the game. So we'll get something for sure, and I think that's what's going to end the show because I truly don't know what else it could be unless it's Donkey Kong. But I don't think it's Donkey Kong. I don't think it's Mario. Metroid Prime 4 just sounds right. And shoot, maybe it's a whole segment at the end where they say, here's Prime 2 and 3, and then here's one more thing, you know, last thing of the show. Just putting all the Metroid stuff together, which would be pretty cool. And that's everything I could possibly think of. And there's probably still going to be some announcements and secrets that I definitely was not expecting. That's just how Nintendo is. But let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this little prediction and list I put together for you guys today. Is there anything that you would like to add or anything else that you think could happen during this show? Or is there anything else that you want to happen for the show that I didn't talk about here? Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. You guys are awesome. And make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Nintendo, as I am probably going to be live streaming the Nintendo Direct tomorrow morning. So feel free to come by and watch it with me as we can watch it together, talk about it together, and give our thoughts together. But thank you so much for tuning in. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.